Dismantling self-limiting beliefs. What'd you
Turn
say?
the lights down low.
What did you say?
I said, I thought you said I like that. I thought you said just believing in yourself, basically, because it's similar to that.
Oh yeah, it is. Believing in yourself. Like
Very
just
cool.
letting yourself make sound, like make music.
Right. And I like the technique of that, but I feel like I'm a little bit more OCD when it came to like songwriting. So it's like I wanted to like.
It's using two
tell
different
a
parts
story.
of your brain.
Exactly.
So like sometimes you need to like, I know, you need to. Sometimes I feel like because I get so focused on songwriting, I've been working lately on getting unfocused and getting just feeling
Messy.
So,
Get messy.
yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Playing drums for me is like you're just feeling the rhythm. You're feeling the music. You're not like thinking about it as much. You're not thinking about like the storytelling as much.
Right.
But then you can like put them together.
Well, it's like bringing it from the mind into the body, right? So you're not so cerebral.
Right.
You're not so focused on the cognitive patterns that we're so ingrained
Exactly.
in. And kind of bringing it into the body. So you just let like the rhythm inspire what ultimately emerges.
So you can get
know?
to like your real core feelings.
Yeah.
I think instead of just what you're thinking, it's more about like what you're feeling.
I agree.
And then you can always bring the cerebral in later.
Yeah.
You know, when you do edits and things.
Right.
But
Which like, of course
Yeah.
you're going to do because that's just how our brains go.
this is how we do it.
I like it. We are live. Welcome back to the 10 Lions Podcast. I'm your boy Jelani Lion. This is episode 51. In this episode, we will be discussing the state of Kingston. The girls are fighting. Pride Month, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, DDG versus Halle Bailey, Sydney Sweeney's new product, and more. So make sure you watch all the way until the end so you don't miss a single thing. Also, subscribe, comment, like, and share. Introducing our beautiful guests today. Molly and Sarah are here. How are you guys feeling today?
Good.
Fabulous.
Got all
Thanks
the
for
sillies
having
out?
No.
Oh, no.
I
we
didn't
got
think so.
many more sillies where that one came from.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Molly. This is your not Molly. Sarah, this is your very first time being here, so
Yeah.
thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So before we get into words of wisdom, this is a marketing plug portion of the pod. So if you guys want to market yourselves, your businesses, and whatnot on the podcast for anyone that's watching or could be watching in the future, go for it.
Okay.
Go for it, babe.
I'm a musician. I'm a singer, songwriter. I have released 4 records. I'm working on the 5th record. I coach songwriters. I'm leading a songwriting retreat in Mexico next winter.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I also do one-on-one coaching and piano lessons and voice lessons and gigs and recording and anything that has to do with music.
Yeah, that's very dope. Have you done a musical retreat like that before?
This will be my first one that I'm leading.
Oh, good luck.
Thanks.
I think it sounds exciting, so I'm sure it'll be a blast.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Molly, let's give your spiel so you do it properly.
All right. Well, my name is Molly McCarthy-Tweedy. I'm co-founder of this space that we're in, which is evolutionary psychotherapy and holistic healing. I'm a co-director and psychotherapist here and healer. I also am a musician, artist. I've worked with Sarah, who's been an incredible coach for songwriting for me. And you can find us on evolutionaryholistichealing.com. And we'll share all of our socials later. You can put that in the comments or whatever, right?
Absolutely. Put it in the description.
Easy reference.
All right. So
Thank you so much for having us.
anytime, Molly. You're
Yeah.
always welcome. Now, what are our words of wisdom for today?
Well, the last time I was on the show,
Goodness.
I shared a quote by Tony Robbins.
Many quotes. You shared many quotes.
I
that day.
did share many, actually.
Right,
You're
let's-
very right about that. But yeah, in preparation for today, I was like, ooh, which ones do I want to pick from, etc. So my favorite Tony Robbins quote is, "Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure." And I love that quote so much because no matter what we do in this life, if we don't feel fulfilled in it, there's great potential to feel like a failure. And so, I think it's a great question to kind of ask ourselves as we're moving through life, with whatever it is that we're doing. It could be cooking dinner, it could be our work, it could be anything. But just, do we really truly feel fulfilled in that process? And if not, what do we got to do to shift that for ourselves? Otherwise, it's so easy to kind of get into that victim mentality and really disconnect or detach from the worlds that we're in, from this beautiful life that we have, this sacred, precious life.
I like it.
That's so beautiful.
Molly, I like that so much more than the first quote. Good job. Very.
Yeah, I think you liked the majority of my quotes last time. There was just the one.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. This is the one. I like that one, but a lot better than the first one, so it's fine. Sarah, I think you mentioned your quote before we started.
Yeah, so I've been working with dismantling self-limiting beliefs. So things that you think, I guess it's like coming up against doubt and just saying like, oh, I'm just going to try this anyway and just see what happens.
No, it was dismantling. Say it again.
Dismantling self-limiting beliefs.
Gonna write that down. I like it.
So mainly I've been doing it through music, through hosting improvisational jam sessions with other musicians and just feeling the music and playing instruments we don't usually play and just like feeling sound and not saying like, I'm not a drummer, I'm not going to play the drums, but just like sitting at the drums and feeling the drums and letting yourself just explore and try new things.
I get that. That makes sense. I gotta take a note from Sarah's handbook with that one. My words of wisdom aren't like, I feel like my words of wisdom are usually more positive. This one is like not necessarily not positive, but it's have low expectations for others. I feel like me personally, I've been going through different disappointments when it comes to other people, like big and small and whatnot. But if I realize that if I have lower my expectations for others, then that decreases the chance of disappointment and whatnot. So it's like, I don't know if that's positive or negative or like neutral or whatnot, but I think different people can like relate to that.
Yeah.
Or I think if you have your own expectations for what you want, but you don't expect it necessarily from another person, or from one person.
Right. I mean, I have expectations for myself. I think I can have high expectations for myself, but it's usually, so say like it's a family member or a significant other or a friend or whatever, and you're either constantly being let down or you're let down or whatever the case would be. It's like, it like kind of softens the blow if the expectations aren't high, if that makes sense.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Just kind of having neutrality, walking through life with like neutrality and not
Right.
Not like pulling from anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to like push yourself forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're like reaching those things that you want, and then if people can't go there with you, then they can't.
Right. And that's like acceptance.
Yeah.
It's also about like
easier said than done.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's definitely a tough thing to maneuver.
Yeah.
What are you about to say, Molly?
I was just going to say, I think, one of the goals really is to try to let go of the attachment to expectations altogether.
Right. Okay.
Like it almost seems impossible to do, right? Because we're in this world, we're in this society, this culture where we've been conditioned so often to believe in having expectations of ourselves and of others. But that's just a rule that we're following. We can like literally take that rule and throw it in the fire and just let it burn and dismantle, expectations altogether and just be like, wow, what if I moved through life having amazing goals for myself and like really working hard and loving myself through it, but not having expectations of others at all.
At the same time,
it can breed a lot of resentment.
If somebody starts to do something where they're like obviously taking advantage of you, you have to start creating boundaries or communication and say like, hey, like you can't be like, I have no expectations, everyone is great.
Well, you
like,
create your own boundaries,
right?
Right? That doesn't necessarily mean it's an expectation that you have of someone. You just say, okay, not feeling that. I'm gonna set some boundaries in order to like protect myself in this.
Right. So how do you set boundaries?
I mean, it depends upon the scenario, but there's lots of ways that we can do it.
Right.
It could be letting that person go altogether. It could be, having a contract of some sort, consequences, It could be verbal, it could be physical, it could be getting the police involved if you need an order of protection. Like, we can go as far as we want with it, really. But I think, yeah, we can really empower ourselves when we focus more on what we want to achieve for ourselves and love ourselves unconditionally through it, versus focusing so much on expectations of others to help us get there. And attract the people that are going to really support you in the way that you want to. And for those that don't, it's like, all right, well, good, keep it moving. You know what I mean? Life is too short.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
there's billions of people on this planet.
In your list of boundaries, you said letting someone go. Do you think that letting someone go is a boundary, or is a result of like boundaries being broken?
I think it's creating a boundary to let someone go. Yeah, for yourself. Sometimes you notify that person if it's necessary to, or if you want to. Other times, you kind of do your thing, and
so you think a breakup
slowly
is a boundary?
It may fade. Yeah.
Oh,
big time.
I would think it was like the end of the relationship. So like,
But to me, that's a boundary.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of people that when they split up, right, will continue to maintain communication. Or sometimes you'll see like a transitional period for a while where they're still in something with one another without it being totally set. And then there's other times where it's really clear, like, hey, we need to take a little breather and let's give ourselves some space here before we may reconnect again as friends or as lovers, or peace out.
I like it.
Well, like a boundary, like physically creating a boundary. Like when you think of boundary, you think of like a wall. Like you're kind of like building a wall, or you're creating like a line where sometimes maybe everything is more fluid, and then all of a sudden it feels like there's this line that needs to be made.
I'm sorry, I can't stop smiling. Because she started smiling at me. So
why are you smiling?
I'm just
because we just love you,
right?
Oh.
And I like the conversation. I also usually. Do you drink? Random question.
I mean, like,
On occasion?
What do you want to drink?
I mean, I'm just asking if you drink at all, because Molly doesn't drink. I'm also used to there being something to drink here, so I'm just like.
You got Red Bull and water. What are you talking about?
Sober Dover right now, but it's fine.
We're high on life, Jelani.
Yeah. You are.
Let's praise the high on
life.
You're not high on life?
No, I'm being beat up by life.
I took a tiny bit of a gummy, so I actually.
There you go. See, she's more than high on this life.
Disclaimer. Gummy hood.
I like it. I'm not mad at it.
And I have my tea.
Is your tea?
My tea is
He's like, what's in your tea?
It's just green matcha powder and maple syrup and oat milk.
Ooh, I feel like I need a sip of
Did you make that yourself? Because that sounds like something from Starbucks.
No, I made it in my kitchen.
Sarah is quite the barista. We can
Okay.
add that to the list of
The
roles
portfolio.
she plays. Can I try it?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
It's a
awesome.
little bit strong. It's a little bitter,
It's
but
a little matcha-y.
So do you feel like a breakup or letting someone
Thank
go
you,
is
darling.
a boundary? Or?
I don't know. I think that it's like. I think it is like breaking up is kind of like letting it disperse. So it is a question: is that making a boundary, or is that like just like?
I like the continuation of it, where you were like, sometimes after a breakup, they can still talk and converse and
But then there's a boundary there. 'Cause,
right. And that's a new boundary.
Yeah.
So the breakup, it's debatable.
All this stuff is very like close to me right now because I'm recently divorced.
Oh, I didn't know it was recent. I'm sorry.
So after 22 years, well, it's been a year, but like that feels recent for me.
After 22 years, a year is recent.
Well, a year and a half, but it feels like a while.
Like yesterday.
Yeah, it feels like it's still, I don't know, fresh.
Right, that makes sense. And you probably, I don't mean to like get in your personal life, but like I feel like I'm sure if it led to a divorce, that means you went through months to years of whatever. So it makes sense. Not just you broke up or a divorce last year, but you went through the negativity for however many years or time. So like it makes sense why it'd be fresh.
Yeah.
And also having 2 children still in the mix.
Yeah.
There's this consistent communication that has to happen in co-parenting, right? Which can make it challenging because when we don't have children or assets that we're sharing, there's not as much of a need to maintain that communication. So when you have a breakup that's free of that, it's like it's so much easier to, I think, to set boundaries.
Right.
But when there's still people and things involved, it's
yeah.
like, okay, we have to find like a new way.
I think it's
to
really
communicate and to
challenging.
function and to
It's really challenging.
operate.
I mean, I think a lot of the reason that I'm divorced was based on like parenting styles and just different belief systems on like how to raise our children. And now the family has broken apart, and now I'm doing what I think is the right thing, and he's doing what he does. And I feel like the kids are like going back and forth now between these two things, where before it was in the same household and there was that friction. But now I feel like it's even harder in some ways to be easier in some ways, easier for me maybe because I don't have to have the conflict with him directly, but I'm still feeling it through the kids.
How old are your kids?
14 and 11.
Oof. What's there?
Get ready.
Yes.
You're gonna rock it.
What's it called? So I understand that because my daughter is 9 and we have her mother obviously is in a separate household, and we have conflicts about parenting styles and whatnot. So definitely understand that. It's not easy, but I don't know. Like I try to tell my daughter or enforce with her that you're at your dad's house, you're with your dad, you don't do that, you don't do these like lists of things and whatnot. So it's like I'm pretty adamant on that, and I kind of have to let go of those things, and hopefully that she retains it for when she is with her mom and whatnot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy though.
Yeah.
I know. We can
But at
only do
least-
our best, right? Through
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But at least but also because you're not in Kingston, right? Like you're
No, I'm in Kingston.
Oh, you are in Kingston. Is your ex-husband in Kingston?
No.
Is he in like local or?
He's like a half an hour away.
But he is going to be in Kingston.
He bought
right? 'Cause of
land
the property.
here, so he will
Okay.
be. I mean, this is a lot of personal information.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Part of
We
it-
turned
it's
into
okay.
the Sarah show.
No, it's okay. But sometimes I have a tendency to be really open about stuff, and then
Yeah.
I need to figure out what my boundaries are.
Right. No, I get
There's
it.
that topic.
Contrary to popular belief, not that popular. This is a safe space and whatnot. Sometimes it gets a little controversial and whatnot.
Well, YouTube a safe space?
Is YouTube a safe space? Yes and no,
Yeah.
but I don't. If anyone has anything to say about Sarah, they'll have to deal with me. So you're good to go.
We got to bounce her over here.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hopefully, you'll definitely have Molly with you, like every step of the way and whatnot. But I feel like your own advice as far as dismantling
Self-limiting beliefs.
Right. So it's like this is kind of like that in a way, like because it's like you kind of have to let go of the things you can't control with it. So it's like that's the limit that you have to dismantle or whatnot. Even though like you would like ideally it would make sense for your children to be raised by you and by your rules and whatnot. But unfortunately, you have that other
Which, like, why couldn't we just come to
agreements.
balance?
Yeah.
Like, why can't men and women just come into balance? Why is there this, like,
Big
polarization
question.
that, like, keeps perpetuating, it feels like?
Do you want my answer?
Yes.
Because I'm only giving these. I only have quote unquote answers because I have quote unquote experience with it with my situation. I think the resentment isn't a factor because obviously y'all came to a negative conclusion and whatnot. So I feel like, again, speaking from my own experience, my mother of my child doesn't feel like I'm owed anything as far as say how my child is raised and different things of that nature. So I can only assume that that you have like a similar situation with that.
So you feel like your voice isn't being heard?
I've been told my voice isn't cared about. So it's definitely like shitty, obviously.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big thing. Like, we have to listen to each other.
Right. So it's like, yeah, you should be a team. But I feel like I've heard from divorcees that comes with time too. So it's like, unfortunately, my child is 9, and we've been separated from each other for like 9 years. So I don't like. Hopefully, like when she's an adult, that won't be the thing. Like obviously, it won't be. But your children are at least 11 and 14. So the one will be 18 in 4 years, the other will be 18 in 7 years and whatnot. But hopefully it won't be like a rough road anyway, because you're still doing what your job as their mom and whatnot.
Yeah, I love them. They're like my whole world.
Are they both
Like,
boys?
They're both boys. I have 2 sons.
Damn boys. I feel like girls are easier, but boys, it just depends.
I don't know.
It all depends. I'm new. I'm a new boy dad too, so it's like I'm more experienced with girls and whatnot. So I can't really talk. Actually, my boy's only 2. He's doing all right.
Yeah, cool.
What do you think, Molly?
We shall
Hop in.
see. Pertaining to what? I think Sarah's an amazing mama, that's for sure.
Thank you.
And I think you do an incredible job
Thank
in your
you.
co-parenting sitch.
Thank you.
Like the best that could be done,
Thank
for
you.
sure. And I'm not just saying that, I've witnessed.
I'm not
so.
just saying that. Okay.
Yeah. It's not easy. But I just encourage people to do their inner work, really, what it comes down to. Because it's like, there's going to be a lot that comes up in that separation. It happens for anyone. Even when you're in a place where you're wanting that breakup to happen, like there's still going to be raw feelings that come through and vulnerabilities. And
even if it feels like it's
triggers
the right
and all
thing.
sorts of things. Exactly. And so, all that we can do is our best in committing to our inner work and working through the trials and tribulations that arise in the moments when they do, because they'll show up, and just take care of ourselves through it. It's a lot.
Hallelujah.
Such a skill set to co-parent. We actually see a lot of families come through here for support with co-parenting, which is so amazing. It always warms my heart, because I'm like, thank you for showing up to be supportive unto yourselves and in your collective
I
as
think
a
that's
new
huge.
family.
You get that-
and then also for the sake of your children.
You get that from both parents?
Yeah.
They
Oh,
show
yeah.
up together for co-parenting therapy?
Totally.
I think that's
co-parenting
awesome.
counseling, yeah.
'Cause it really-
That's so foreign.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's dope.
No,
obviously.
love
for
it.
real. I know.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think
it really is?
your person would do that?
I mean, I wish.
Right. That's what I'm like. I'm like, there's no. I know she would do that. But that's
You know what else we get, which is to me feels so new to the field as well, because I've been in the field 26 years now, and I've only seen this in the last couple years, is conscious uncoupling counseling. So for a couple that is in preparation for ending, and they want to do it consciously and with support, so they come into our center to break up in the most conscious way.
I tried
Do
to.
you get a bunch of that?
We do.
That's crazy.
Well, it's
I'm
a whole
like,
new movement.
Yeah, like it's such a nice service to offer.
Yeah, that's cool, though.
I'm always so proud of people, and I get couples too who, don't have major issues, but they're just like, it's really nice to have someone else as kind of a mediator and to be supportive to us in our relationship in general. There's not these major kind of gripes that have happened
Also,
or
it's an
resentment.
interesting way of looking
It's
at
nice.
it. Instead of getting so caught up in your emotions, which is so easy to do, of course.
Yeah.
To look at a bigger picture, even biologically as human beings, and say, are we actually supposed to just be with one partner for our entire lifespan? I mean, it's amazing when people do, but have we been taught that by society that is what we're supposed to do, or is there a broader tribe of humans and we can fulfill each other in different ways instead of just having this nuclear family that ends up feeling like a break? It's there's a lot of stuff where it feels like there's been a lot of breakdown. I mean, just personally, that's what I've experienced, and I see it around me in the world too, of just that.
That's a good question. What do you
Such a
think,
good
Molly?
question. I think it's such a personal decision, and I think there's so much that comes into play when people are in that process of really trying to decipher what their template for a relationship is. When I think of, the fairy tales and Disney movies and, these kind of storylines that are you find your person and then they lived happily ever after.
And
I
they
used
never
to-
talk about any conflicts that will come up.
right. It's like butterflies and roses, hello. But I feel like that would be something back in the day that I would have subscribed to more for myself personally, but things have really shifted for me personally in regard to relationship. I think I'm a little bit more open and fluid in these days.
How fluid?
Let's just say I'm open and fluid.
Gotcha.
All right.
She's standing by her stage.
But but I think, in supporting others to get a better sense of what
How wet are you, Molly? I'm just kidding.
we're going to pretend that we're going to scratch that one out. No, it's not raining out. My shoes aren't wet. What are you talking about?
That was a good cleanup.
So anyway, it's dry out there. It was raining yesterday, Sarah. But yeah, no, I think it's really important for people to get clear for themselves what it means and what they want in a relationship, because nowadays, gosh, there's so much out there,
There's so much
right?
variety.
Like, what is it? Consciously non-monogamous. Is that what the term is? Yeah.
You know the terms.
It's
I've never-
Ethically,
E&M.
yeah,
Which
non-monogamous.
is very confusing.
There's polyamory,
which is very confusing.
I know. There's lots of different
Choices, options.
Yeah, polygamy. I mean, the list goes on of just these like
Very fluid
non-conventional, very fluid choices, non-conventional kind of, and then just dating, right? Some people just like to date. They don't really want commitment. They're not wanting that exclusive, committed relationship. So, so many flavors, and you got to find yours. And
How do
I've
you
seen a
do that,
lot
though?
of
Like-
people in the polyamory community really struggle. Like they love the idea of it,
Yeah.
but then they really struggle in the execution of it.
Right.
Because
Emotions.
it
You
really
know?
is, you really do have to communicate, and you have to I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna create a boundary right now and
Gotcha.
not talk
No
about it
worries.
too much.
That government. However,
Bookmark that topic.
do we want to stay on this topic, or we want to get to
Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So the first one.
So many more.
So many. The first one is the state of Kingston, New York. How do you guys feel? What are your initial thoughts of the state of Kingston, New York?
I love living in Kingston. I really love it.
Were you born in Kingston or no?
I was not, but I moved to this area with my family when I was 3.
Okay.
So I grew up here. I lived
Okay.
here my whole life. I lived,
Well, this is going to be fun then for you as far as the topic goes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've known Kingston. Kingston was like the big city kind of for here. I mean, New York City's the big city, but
course.
around here, like I grew up pretty in a rural environment, like up in the mountains and like not in Kingston. And then I moved to Kingston 6 years ago, and I love it.
Okay, so you moved here and then you moved away from
So
here.
I've lived in the Hudson Valley
In the Hudson
Okay.
Valley.
my whole life.
In Ulster, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so she wasn't far from Kingston.
Gotcha.
yeah, like a half an hour.
Gotcha.
But now, so I used to like have to drive to Kingston, and it was like a
Right.
destination.
Right.
And now I live here, so I have a different perspective of it, and I like being close to everything. I feel like there's a lot of vitality and new growth, and like I remember this street like since I was a little kid, and it was very different than it is now. So
Makes sense.
it's nice. It's nice to see the growth. I think it's good.
Very cool. Well, I have a different perspective, and one might say it's a popular perspective. This is from Facebook. Shout out Tristan Hines. He says, I hate Kingston
Ooh.
because people act like we don't know them in real life. Laughing emoji. Over 70 reactions.
Wait, I don't understand.
50 shares and multiple comments. So, all right, I'll read it for you again.
I know, but I don't understand what do you mean people act like they don't. Wait, yeah, read it again.
I'll read it again for you.
Or if you want to read some comments too, just get a better sense.
So
Yeah.
I'll go through the comments and I'll go through the status and go back to the comments. I hate Kingston because people act like we don't know them in real life. Again, got like 50 shares, 70 different reactions. Someone said this is definitely the one. Someone say dudes think they're Little Baby or something. Little Baby's a rapper. Someone said it's mad embarrassing. For real, I tell people that I'm from Port Ewan. Someone said a lot of dudes think they're super tough with no funds. Funds mean money. Just and different people just agreeing to that point.
Interesting.
Like I said, so 50 shares. I mean, who knows what it's at now or whatever, but it was. Me and Tristan Hines. I don't know him personally. He's like my younger brother's friend or whatnot, but it gravitated towards my Facebook through all the shares and whatnot. So it's like it's a very popular perspective.
I don't understand. I still don't understand the perspective. People act like they don't know us in real life.
people
mean?
act like we don't know them in real
We
life.
don't know them.
So it's like I guess the perspective is like people put on a facade on maybe social media, that's not their true self.
Okay.
Not genuine to who they are.
But that's,
Exactly.
that's social media.
Like they're kind of flaunting.
That's social media, and
Is that Kingston? Why does that have to do with Kingston?
that's a good question. So my initial thought is that I don't know. People kind of make it hard to like not do right by Kingston, but like paint Kingston in a good light, because I feel like that's more the majority. Like what it's refreshing to hear you say that you like love Kingston and whatnot, because most people that are from Kingston have the complete opposite feeling about it. Like, oh, it's trash. Oh, I need to get out of here. Oh, this, that, and third, or whatnot.
I mean, that might have to do with like their neighborhood, or I don't know. Maybe there's parts of Kingston that are rougher
Right.
than other parts, and maybe it's a feeling of like not like a lack of community in some way, or lack of support.
Right. Possibly, yeah. So possibly their neighborhood, possibly their friend group, possibly like people have felt like that way in like school and jobs and whatnot. So it's like it's a number of things. All I know is that it's a popular narrative.
There's a lot of subgroups or like subcultures that are all working within each other. We're all occupying the same space, and maybe they don't always like connect, or maybe they don't always like maybe there's not this like full sense of community, but there's like some people that feel like they're in a different orbit or something.
Yeah.
I'm really involved in the O Positive Festival.
Okay.
And like I just feel like I see a lot of positive change and growth in Kingston, and
Right.
I don't know, I see it in a good way. My kids go to school here, and I feel happy with the school systems, and I don't know, I feel like there's a lot to offer here, and we're close to nature. There's like the beautiful Hudson River, and the mountains, but there's like everything here. Lots of, I don't know, I just see a lot of good here.
Right. Which makes sense, because like I feel like if you're looking for positivity, you're gonna you can find it, and I feel like if you're not, then you're not going to find it. And I feel like that's kind of where the narrative comes from, because again, like he's not the only person that says that. Like I feel like more times than not, I hear negative things about Kingston, positive things. Like it's so small, everybody's this, everybody's that, or whatever the case be is. But
I love that it's small.
right, it's like it's comfortable and whatnot. Like, but if you don't feel like it's a good size, then there's always other places and whatnot.
Right.
Molly, what do you think?
So, whenever anybody is judging others or a place or anything, right? It's important to recognize like what's happening internally for them. So, for whoever is like hating on whoever, it's like what's showing up within yourself around that, right? Is there jealousy that's coming up because maybe somebody has something that you wished you had, and how can we transmute that? Well, we can turn that into inspiration, right? Like, what is that person doing that I want,
Right.
that maybe I can start to integrate into my life to start showing up in that particular way?
I don't mean to cut you off. It's so funny that you said that, because when the hoodies were here, they said something like really similar to that, and it just more likely than not, it's the other way around. Like I was asking them why it's like that, because it's so weird that people will either be jealous or be negative towards someone that they're either inspired by, or someone that's doing well, rather than like, oh, what can I do to be doing well like that or whatnot. So it's like, it's very not confusing, but like I wonder why it's very like questionable or whatever the right word is, because like I have quarrels with Kingston, but I'm not going to say I hate Kingston because of this. Like, I wish that I was, quote unquote, more supported by my community and whatnot. But I'm not going to be like, I hate Kingston because I don't get any support, because that's not valid to me anyway. Or like, I could see someone saying that, but you're not really doing anything by saying that, but just shitting on your hometown.
Totally.
I think it's defining what your needs are and what your aspirations are, and like, well, what am I getting? What is it that I need that I'm not being fulfilled by here? Like, what's
missing?
What's lacking? And trying to identify what that is. And maybe it's a sense of community. Maybe it's the people that you're engaging with.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Well,
I just want to say really quick, like, for example, with Kingston, You know, you can name so many different parts that exist within Kingston that make up Kingston as a whole.
Yeah.
And you can tease out certain parts to like focus on, or you can recognize, you know, all the parts that kind of make up this whole and see it in a different light. Or if there's certain parts that you're not liking, maybe there's other parts of it that would be more beneficial for you to kind of focus on, so you can grow a little bit more of gratitude and appreciation for the parts that are doing well.
Yeah.
Or join some sort of a mission to help the parts that aren't working really well, so that you feel like you're invested in creating positive change rather than just focusing on parts that you don't like, because ultimately that's feeding you.
What's funny
Like-
about that is that I feel, I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like with people who are like in that negative piece or whatever, that piece that they don't like, doing the alternative in the pieces, the other pieces that make up Kingston aren't known as like, defined as like cool, like isn't cool to do, like cool to be joining a group or going to what's it called, what's the bookstore called, like around
Rough Draft.
Rough Draft or whatever, like being uptown, being involved in like the festivals or whatever the case would be. But I feel like a certain percentage of Kingston just wants to do what they want to do, and if it's not fulfilling them, then oh, Kingston's boring, or Kingston's trash, or Kingston's this. And it also like it makes sense, like if you're having drama, if you're involved in drama in Kingston, and that's like where your head is really at, what your perception of Kingston is not going to be like, oh, this is paradise.
I think it has so much to do with the people, like your community, the people that you
Surround
that you're
yourself
surrounded-
with.
I feel like I have so many good people around me, and I've also been here my whole life, so I know so many people. So
Right.
everywhere I go, I always see people that I know, and I feel connected, and I feel like, I don't know, I like to see like people that I've known for a really long time and see how they've like changed and how their lives have grown, and just having that depth of connection with so many people feels like home.
Right. No, I get what you're saying, but I feel like people might have that same like knowing everybody interactions wise and whatnot, but they have negative feeling towards those people that they see and know, have
Right.
known for years and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess it depends.
So it's like a flip side.
Right.
I was just going to say, resentment is like taking a pill of poison and wishing the other person would die. Right?
What? Whose quote is that? Molly's?
I mean, I don't know whose quote it is, honestly, but I've been saying it for a long time.
I like
It's
it,
out
though.
there. But, you know, it's like anytime we're hating on anyone, judging anybody, resenting, it's that poison lives within us.
Yeah.
So you have
of
to
course.
ask yourself, like, is that what I want for my life? Is to toxify my system with poison in thinking about all the people I don't like versus recognizing a way in which I can start to integrate more into my own life that, you know, will bring me joy and love and peace and inspiration and creativity and all the good things that we absolutely have the potential to manifest in our lives as humans.
I think the Zen thing is to take the poison and look at it and address it and not be afraid of it and be like, okay, that's the poison. And then I think that sometimes when you shine a light into the darkness, it disperses or it has some more air when you just kind of like look at it and address it, and then hopefully like new growth can be stimulated from just like looking at what the negativity is.
Let me ask you both this. Do you think that, oh, I wish I was drinking. Do you guys think that,
You can
Everyone-
Are we driving you to drink?
no, it's just,
We can take this to the
this
bar.
has been like a, I would love to, but this has been like just a home for that. Like, it just makes it the more calm, zen, and all that good stuff. And for me anyway. But you're not driving me to drink though. Not this episode. What do you guys think that what you're saying right now, what you're alluding to? Do you think that everyone is capable of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's about will.
Everyone
Right,
is
but-
capable.
Where there's a
That doesn't
will,
mean they're
there's a
gonna
way.
Do it, but like
Everyone's
everyone
capable,
can.
but it's their
Right.
choice whether or not they invest in the efforts that it takes to
probable?
then change that.
Is it probable that everyone will live up to their capabilities?
No, absolutely not.
Right, because that's why, like, so people.
But that's the difference, right? Because some people will say, I can't do this thing, or she won't do that thing, or she
Right.
can't. There's a difference between can and won't, right? Like,
Right.
I choose to, or I choose not to, versus I'm capable or not capable to, you know?
yeah, is it a fine line? Because like say someone's immature, or someone's unintelligent, or someone is
Has anger problems.
irresponsible. Yeah, all the things. Could you say that they're incapable of the positive side of the
No
thing?
way. I think everybody's capable of the positive side.
They're capable.
You just have to
They're
do
just
the
not
work.
willing.
It's like, do you want to
Right.
make your
Capable,
bed? Are you
not
going to make
willing.
your bed, or are you gonna like let it be a mess every day?
Right.
Now, if you put $100 out and you said make your bed, all of a sudden they're capable.
Right.
They're making their bed, right?
Right. I guess what I'm saying, they obviously have the ability to do what you're saying, but they're less likely to because of their faults.
Mental outlook.
Whatever their issue is, yeah.
So how do
Whatever
you,
the pattern is.
How do you change
The
that?
person
How do you
has
break
to
that?
change. The person has to take the initiative. The
Right.
person has
Yeah.
to see it. The person has to see the negativity, the poison.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can't see it. But you have to like try, at least attempt to address it, and then like say like, okay, how can I change? Like just asking yourself that simple question.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like most people that deal with resentment aren't going to do that, from my experience anyway.
Because of their own mental
They're stuck.
state.
The beauty of having really supportive people in your life is that, hopefully they'll confront those parts of you that they see. I mean, a psychotherapist will do that for sure. I'm sure plenty of healers and lots of other people in the world that will, but even having a good friend, like Sarah's one of my besties, and
you too.
if I had
And
problems
through-
with her,
that's so sweet.
I would confront her,
like,
and she
you've
would with me
been,
too.
like, a lifeline through a lot of my dark
You're
stuff.
so sweet.
No, I'm totally serious.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
Yeah, love you.
Like, for real.
But, we're here for each other to confront those parts within each other that we might see that are struggling. And you can get professional help if you don't feel like you have anybody within your family or your friend network to do so. But it takes a lot of skills to like learn how to support someone in a place to help motivate and inspire them to make changes in themselves that they've been really resistant to making for themselves. It takes a lot of skills, but I think some people really work well when it comes to like the baby step model, right? Like, all right, let's just do a little something today or tomorrow or this week, and let's praise, the moment when you're able to accomplish that, and hopefully that will start to build some momentum within yourself to then feel like, all right, maybe I'm open to the next step, whatever that next bigger step may be. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom, right? I used to work with a lot of people in recovery, in substance abuse recovery. And the functional alcoholics and addicts were the most challenging ones to work with. The ones that hit rock bottom were the easiest to work with because they were on the bottom and lost everything. And so there's an inspiration to like rebuild my life, as opposed to people who still have a lot kind of working out for them, but yet they're still toxifying their system and not doing well in other ways. It's like that money keeps coming in so they can keep supporting their habit while also still showing up and doing the things. But that rock bottom, it's like, wow, I can only go up from here. And so that's actually one of the most, motivating forces for people that have addiction issues, is to hit that bottom.
That was really profound, Molly.
You think so?
Yeah,
Thanks.
Because what's it called? Like, I feel like that can be compared to people that aren't dealing with addiction and whatnot. Like,
Yeah.
because the people, unfortunately, the people in Kingston that have negative thoughts about Kingston, like, again, maybe it's resentment, maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But until they're facing that rock bottom, like you're saying, I feel like that is something that they're gonna continue to have. Even when you talk about Sarah's ex-husband or my ex and whatnot, I know I can speak for myself that they're not willing to change how they are because of different conversations we've had and whatnot.
Right now.
But until they reach a rock bottom, and even still then, honestly, I don't know, I don't see it. But so it's just like it's very interesting to see that. Like it's definitely unfortunate that has to be the case, because like you don't have to hit a rock bottom, or you should. Like, what if you never hit a rock bottom and you just live out your life with resentment and hate and all
Sucks
these
for
negative
you.
things?
It's about forgiveness. And I think that, I'm not a religious person, but I think that these topics are like why religions start and continue, is like having those just like the message of like love and forgiveness and like
values and tools and
and treating
philosophy.
other people how you want to be
Yeah.
treated, and like just these basic like human things of like how do we all get along, how do we harmonize with each other, how do we soften, how do we not be in fight or flight mode by getting triggered by stress, like how do we like handle stress in a way where we're like working as a team and finding growth instead of like killing each other.
Right.
I'll share with you a life hack.
Okay.
I love that little smile that comes through. Like, here we go, Molly.
What is your life hack?
The life hack is, well, and it's similar, it's kind of full circle to what you were sharing about having expectations of other people. The life hack is that when you start to work on your own growth and your own transformational process, you'll start to see that the other person starts to change. Not necessarily in the way that you want them to exactly, but when we shift how we operate
How you perceive
within
them
those
changes?
dynamics of another human, the dynamics between you and that human are going to change.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Like if you continue to perpetuate some sort of an unhealthy communication with your ex or something. I'm not saying that that happens, but just as an example, or either of you. And you continue to perpetuate that, right? You're going to continue to get the same results that you've always gotten. But if you start to like set boundaries, like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to like feed that aggressive behavior, or I'm going to warn you that like if you're going to talk smack to me or disrespect me in some sort of a way, like I'm going to say, today is not our day to have a conversation. I'm about to hang up the phone. Or however you work it to set that boundary, all of a sudden that person is going to learn like, damn, I can't do those very things that I used to do with this
Sometimes.
person anymore.
Not always.
You could,
Well-
you could also look at them like a child, like not like say
That's
that they're-
true.
but like you're dealing like in your mind.
This is like the inner child that's coming at, it's emerging, right?
Or
Yeah.
speaking with
Like a regression.
I mean, like I
Right.
feel like
Yeah.
love is the answer. I mean, we're also very close to Woodstock, and like it's like peace and love. Like
Love and peace.
seriously, like it's if you can just like
She's so
approach
cute.
people with love, like okay, we're having this conflict, but like just find the love in there.
Oh, Sarah, please don't do that.
No, it's so true.
that sounds like that just sounds
so
like
true.
Well, why don't you
I feel
give
like whenever I do that, like with my ex, whenever I just find, and whenever I'm like, I find this like getting into this tension, I try to just back off and just come from a place of love, and I feel like it works.
kill with kindness is an amazing technique.
That's not what she's saying.
No. I'm just giving another example
Okay.
of there's
but not
lots
like
of techniques.
saccharine kindness, but like genuine, like real love, like just being like,
sounds nice.
like fuck all this bullshit. Like there's love there.
Why don't you give like a tangible
If it works for you, it works for
Example.
you.
I mean, I don't really want to go into the
No. It doesn't
Molly?
have. No. It doesn't have to be from your personal life. Just give a tangible example
Okay.
so that
Like a
people
hypothetical.
understand.
Well, I have like an
where you're
example that
coming
I'm
from.
thinking of in my mind, like a scenario. But like, if I go into it, then I'm like not honoring someone else's privacy by like.
Well, you don't have to share the example like of what occurred that led to that technique. It's just sharing the technique. So
use-
like,
you can use fake
how do you
names like Sally and
to
Harry.
say like, oh, I just give love to someone and like everything's great. It's like
I think it's just
you know
trying-
it sounds wonderful, but like how do you translate that
I
into
just
an
get
actual
to a
technique?
instead of fighting, instead of like lashing. I mean,
Having the last word or
yeah, instead of like engaging in the fight thing, it's just kind of like pausing and then just like saying something real and that's not negative. And that's like
something from your heart, maybe.
yeah, something that's like
speaking from your heart, for example,
Yeah, that shit
right?
doesn't work for me, but
Yeah.
I like that it works. If it works for you, then I like that it works for you. That shit does not work for me.
Have you ever tried it?
Oh my god, yeah.
You have?
Oh my god, yeah. But it's fine. It doesn't matter. I know unfortunately what I'm dealing with, so it's okay.
There's a
As long
time
as-
and a place, right?
Yeah.
Some people are open and receptive. Other people will fight that heart communication to no end, right?
Some people are, because like you said meaningful, deep, and whatnot. Some people are shallow, so it's like meaningful, shallow.
Or not
people-
necessarily. They're not necessarily shallow, but maybe they're just not letting things in on a deep level. Like they're
Yeah.
not. They have like a lot of like protection and layers
Right.
and like
Right.
armor, like
Totally.
psychic armor,
Right.
emotional armor.
something like that. Anywho,
Wow, this is some deep, heavy stuff. But it's good.
It's
It's
something.
welcome to life, right? Welcome to relationships. They're not always the easiest, that's for sure.
before we hop off this topic, let me just ask you guys a few quick questions about the state of Kingston. Why do you think some people begin to resent their own community when others within it create false or exaggerated personas? And is that resentment justified?
I think we touched upon a lot of it
Yeah.
actually already.
I
I
think. The
think, yeah.
oh, go ahead. You said.
No, you go.
I was like, the fake persona thing is coming out at me, and I'm not really sure how that. I'm not really sure how that's part of the question, but I feel like that's like the ego. Like that's people, like putting on a face for everybody to see, and like that's also a way. That's also a defense mechanism. It's also like to be like, look at me.
Yeah,
I rock. Like
I like it.
don't fuck with me.
You gotta get you a leather jacket now.
She's already got one, but you can give her another one.
There we go.
It's so funny that I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
Because we.
Ditto. I know, because we're too connected. Me and this one over her.
Now, you guys
But-
I'm sorry. Go
But
ahead.
that's what I was going to say. I was going to say it's ego. Yeah, it's
Right.
just
I
ego.
forgot that we ended up we went in different
Which is
directions.
insecurity. That's another way of saying someone's insecurities. So they wear the armor, they put on the mask, they put on the front. And and judging those people isn't going to help you, nor is it going to help the person that you're judging. So you have to find a new way to work it. Otherwise, you're going to continue to eat that poison.
It's
And I don't
also-
think you want to eat poison.
it's
I'd
also-
rather have a better meal than that.
Me too. It's also people just wanting to be seen in a good light.
Yeah,
Right.
being seen. That's a big component to all of this.
My daughter Genesis.
Oh.
Hello, Genesis.
Hey, girl.
I'll call you back.
Hi.
Hi.
I'll call you.
Podcast.
Yeah, my podcast.
Ah.
I'll call you back.
Read my text and guess what that means.
Read your text. I don't got your text. I'm on the iPad. Why don't you just tell me? Why don't you just tell me the text? Or I'll.
Can't.
Too
I don't know how
cute.
to say it.
All right, so I'll call
Family
you back.
101
You're
in
so
the flesh.
cute.
All right, love you.
Aw. You
So
gotta love
sweet.
kids. Kids are like,
There's something.
yeah,
Keep you going.
yeah.
Drive you crazy. Jesus!
I know, we got some motorcycles in
Some
the house.
hogs out there. So do you guys want to skip the Elon versus Trump? I know that's a politics are a
Why don't we
sticky-
leave that topic for last if there's time? I would.
Sure, why
I just
not?
feel
I
like
would
why
say-
talk about them?
Gotcha.
know.
So let's keep it going then.
I like that answer.
Is Pride Month. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
What does Pride Month mean to you personally, and how has your relationship with it evolved over the years? Miss Fluid.
I mean, I've always been into Pride. I think it's a way to for people to be seen and to express themselves and to be very open about who they are with no shame and love and acceptance.
Love wins.
Yeah.
Love wins.
And joy, just like exuding joy
Yeah.
in who you are. And
Some
not-
people. I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off.
No.
Some people feel like it's being shoved down our throats. How do you feel about that?
I think again, it's like, we choose what we expose ourselves to, So if maybe people need to, I don't know where and how people are feeling as though it's being shoved down their throats, but maybe they need to shift the route that they're taking if they're not comfortable with that.
I wonder what's being.
I'm
shoved
so
their
down with
throats.
it. I'm like, bring it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm not,
There has been,
it
like-
makes me happy. Like it brings joy in my life. So.
There has been like viral posts on Facebook or on social media where it's like they'll have pride days in the schools and whatnot, and I feel like that's where, quote unquote, the backlash I've seen comes from and whatnot. What do you think about that? Pride in the schools. What do you think? As far as like rainbow flags, rainbow shirts, rainbow face paint, the whole nine, just pride parade in the schools with the kiddies.
And that being like, there's an expectation for everybody to follow suit with that type of dress code, or is it just kind of open for whoever wants to express themselves accordingly, but for those who don't want to, they don't have to? Like, is there pressure? Are kids
I think
feeling
it's like a
pressure
Spirit
around
Week type
it?
of deal, like in Spirit Week where it's like pajama day, where you wear pajamas.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have to wear pajamas.
Right.
I mean,
but most kids wear pajamas.
Yeah, you're not getting
We've come
written up
a
if you
long
don't.
way from when I was a kid. Like,
Oh my
I
gosh.
just remember, like, there would be kids that were homosexual, and they were like, everyone would just like make fun of them, and
Yeah.
they were like the brunt of everyone's aggression. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And those people needed to like be like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, this is okay. What I'm like,
Yeah.
and I think that that's important, and like just like shining that light is like, there's been so much oppression over homosexuality for like a lot of humanity, and we're at this moment where I think with the growth of technology and communication and people like having like being like, no, this is who I am.
Right.
Like, people need, there's a lot of like stuff coming up of the people that have been oppressed for generations and generations and generations, and now they can finally come up. So of course there's going to be like this like, woo, like this like huge
Rainbow. If you will.
rainbow of it, and people are like, fucking rainbow. But some people might feel that way, but like,
Who doesn't want to see a rainbow?
I know, right? I think it's really important for people to express themselves and to be,
Accepted.
and to be their authentic selves.
I think that makes sense. That and the transgender community, because I feel like what you said about someone that was homosexual or whatnot the same could be said about someone that was could be classified as transgender or identified as transgender. Like, especially when I was coming up and whatnot, like there's a kid that I could think of that was the brunt of everyone's joke because they were like cross-dressing or whatever the correct term is. So yeah. So how do you feel about the people that feel negative towards they feel like their kids are being subjected to that type of sexual orientation?
I think it's a paradigm shift. So there's like
What's that?
So a paradigm is like a whole way of being.
Okay.
And when there's a paradigm shift, it's like a new way of thinking.
Yeah.
And so the people that are thinking in the old way,
Yeah.
they like have a really hard time looking at a new paradigm. They're like,
That
doesn't make
makes
sense. I don't get it.
Change.
Right.
Change can be challenging for humans.
Okay. So what would you say to someone like that? Like that's having
That
trouble?
I think that they need to like take some ayahuasca, look at their inner demons, do some inner work,
Okay.
vomit it up.
I like it. So you don't see a problem with it? Obviously not.
No.
Gotcha. Wow.
I think if there's anything that's being exposed to others that resonates with them, then it's going to support a part of themselves that maybe wants to emerge. But for those who are not feeling connected or any sort of resonance with any representation that happens within the LGBTQ plus community, then they'll continue to cultivate their own unique self-expression and individuality in the way that they will, So I think there's a lot of fear out there that if there's exposure, that means like my child will become the very thing that maybe I'm afraid for my child to be. But it's like, can you just make someone be something that they're not? Like, I mean, that's a whole nother discussion. I guess
thing
people
that-
can be very influenced, but
Yeah.
I think internally, and I mean, if there's anybody that you've ever connected with who's come out, right? They'll
Yeah.
tell you, listen, I had those feelings, I had those thoughts, those belief systems, that identity, that orientation, whatever it may be, like way before I came out, right? Like that was there way longer than that coming out process. So I don't know. I believe in like free expression of self and So there's a lot that we're exposed to in this world that we don't necessarily want to be exposed to, but it doesn't mean that we have to go around telling everybody that they can't be who they are or express themselves in the way that they want to.
I'm thinking in terms of kids, because I've been a music teacher also for many years and teaching kids music. And at one point I was like, so you just heard my whole perspective on that. Like, I'm like pro everyone expressing themselves. But there is something that does happen where kids start to like try to follow other kids that are like what the popular mode is or a fad or something.
Right.
So there were things where like I would witness like kids just being like, oh no, like I'm trans now, when they weren't, or they were like, or then they would, it was really a mode of like getting attention. Like they would be like, you can't call me she anymore.
Yeah, that's definitely annoying.
And then they would like,
because there's a they them.
and then if you forgot as their teacher because you've like been teaching them since they were a little kid, and you're like, oh, where'd she go? And then they're like, oh, you can't say that anymore. And then like the kids would have this whole drama about it, and it's like, I'm also a human being, and I'm sorry.
Right.
I don't know.
I wasn't gonna go there because like that's another conversation. But I'm glad that you did, honestly, because that makes it also difficult for when they are kids and then want to say like, oh, I'm not a boy, I'm a girl, or I'm a girl, I'm not a girl, I'm a they, so it's like, how do you?
Which is also like, you need to like
grow
accept
more.
yourself.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, as a child, like learning, like, I mean, kids can like beat each other down, and like then they feel like, oh, I need to be something different than what I am. I think that can be unhealthy if they're like not loving themselves and wanting to be something that they're not because they think no one can love who they really are.
Right. How do you? So like, I don't know how to phrase this question I want to ask, but like, how old do you think someone should be before they can make that decision for themselves?
I don't know. That's
I think it's
right.
Yeah, I just think it's so individualized,
Like 6 and 8 are like, I would think is too freaking young, in my opinion. Like,
But,
because
like-
like you don't know shit. You're like, because you're like first grade. When you're 6, you're in first grade. When you're 8, you're in third grade. So it's like, I feel like that's a little too early.
I think there's a difference between kind of, how one identifies themselves versus someone taking those next steps to have surgery and
Of course.
hormone replacement and, all the different ways in which people can kind of transform themselves beyond a name or beyond a label or an identity of some kind. So I think there's a big distinction between those, and I think it is really helpful to seek support. That's always my spiel, right? It's like, get professional support, but to receive the support that's necessary so that you can start to understand a little bit further what's happening internally, and to work with also supportive agencies that have a lot of experience of helping people through this journey. And then I think as adults, it's important to recognize too, brain development in minors, because there's a lot that can shift. I mean, as a mother to a 22-year-old who I remember very well going through adolescence, I mean, he became a very different human when he hit, honestly, it was more like 17, 18 versus when he was 15 and 16. It was a 180, literally, in just a year. It was a 180.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
why
human
shouldn't I say
beings
that?
Go through
Because
like,
I'm scared.
but there's like a lot
It
of
was
changes.
a whole
like-
different world, you know what I mean? We got through it, and I love that boy more than anything.
That's good.
Yeah, my heart. But man, I had to remember that like, we will get through this.
Yeah.
And we did, and what a change. So I think of some of the parents that might be going through their children, having that experience of maybe identifying as something different than the sex they were born into. And just, recognizing that there potentially can be some major changes, as our brain is developing for years beyond
for your
adulthood,
entire
even
lifetime,
young
like,
adulthood.
we're always, I think we can always change our identities in some ways. We're always changing. Everybody's always changing.
We got
But
a comment.
it's such a controversial
yeah, what's
topic,
the
right?
comment?
in our
Comment
society.
said, I'm sorry, Molly's comment said, she's cooking, you out here getting free therapy sessions. I don't know what that was in reference to, but I'll take it.
Anytime.
I'll take it. I mean, this wasn't about me, but I'll take it. So how do you guys feel about the new, because that's even Pride Month is a new concept and whatnot. So it's like how do you guys feel about the national this day month, this month is this month, like all these different new national celebratory occasions?
I think it's cool. I think America is a melting pot. We're a melting pot of many, many different faces. E pluribus unum, out of many one. That's what we're supposed to be.
Right.
So yes, celebrate all the amazing diversity that exists here.
That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
I think it's important also as we evolve as a culture and as a society to identify, when there needs to be maybe a shift to offer something new to the table that's different than how it's been based on what we know now, right? Like Indigenous Peoples Day, for example, is a great example of that. I mean, Pride's been around for a while, but
What's
yeah,
a while?
we I don't know the actual.
No, I'm not saying specifics. 'Cause I feel like
start.
it's kind of it might be around 10 years maybe.
I think more than that.
Because here's my thing is that
We can Google it.
Because now it's also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I just feel like
Oh
that's
yeah, there was
weird.
another
June
topic.
is?
Yeah, they both are. So it's I feel like that's kind of I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I feel like it's hard for me to
Wrap your brain around
Yeah.
pride and men's mental health.
just for it to be 1 month is the same. That's not. I mean, I guess I'm used to the traditional sense of June was just June, but now that I'm now wrapping my head around it being Pride Month, and now it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Juneteenth too.
Juneteenth. There's just
Yeah.
so many new things.
There's a
The
lot
big
of
one.
things.
Yeah.
National Donut Day. There's a
All
national.
When's- things
When's
should
the
be
pizza
celebrated.
day? Because I want to go to that day.
That's every Friday for me. Now,
Every Friday is National Pizza Day. Amazing.
Men's mental health.
like-
Let's talk about that.
okay.
Well, I was going to say really
Okay.
quick though too. Sometimes it's a lot to keep up with, right?
Men's mental health.
Yes, but that's not what I was referring to. I'm just kidding. No, just all the holidays, all the little celebrations. It's sometimes I'll look at my phone. I'm like, oh, my little calendar is it's blah, blah, blah day. I'm like, let's learn about it, you know? But sometimes
just
it's a
embrace
little oversaturated. My prayer, my wish for our planet, let's just say, we'll make it planetary, is for people to just live with a lot more gratitude for others, where we can just feel that gratitude every day for humans and for all the diversity and all that people go through in this life, that we don't necessarily have to have a day in order to recognize it. But I do think there can be beauty in the celebration of these different holidays if people aren't feeling it outside of that, I guess.
I mean, it's a way for us to come together and mark something together. It's
It
a
is.
cultural thing.
Share a meal,
And you don't have
get a little
to
present,
necessarily
write a little
pay
card.
attention to it. You kind of, I feel like,
Yeah,
you
that's
can kind
true.
of be like, okay, whatever, or you can be like, oh, maybe that's something I should meditate on or
Yeah.
Right, no, I like it.
embrace.
It's definitely, especially, I like the perspective you guys have on it too. So, because obviously, really positive, is very welcoming and whatnot. So, I like it. But on to Men's Mental Health Awareness Month,
Woo woo!
also June. Why do you think it's still so hard for many men to open up about their mental health, and how can we start changing that narrative, Molly?
I feel like this is a little bit of a piggyback from the last podcast episode that I was on,
Maybe
which is lovely.
full circle.
Yeah, full circle. I feel like it's been, men have been very conditioned to believe that they have to be tough and strong and emotionally detached, and to not express themselves in the same way that they might see women so much more easily express themselves. There's also the hunter-gatherer, right? How we're wired. Men hunter, women gatherers, kind of, you know.
like
Whatever
this.
that means.
I like this
No,
motion
but it's
back.
all right, let me stop my silliness. But no,
Don't ever stop the
I
silliness.
know.
Maybe
No,
here and
I'll
there.
keep it going. Yeah, I'll tame the silly a little bit. But yeah, no, I think so often men, are kind of directed to just have simple expressions when it comes to life issues, whereas women are very social creatures. Not to say men aren't, but it's much more natural for women to have their little crew that they talk about anything and everything with, right? I mean, get us together in a group of women and forget it.
I think
you
it's
can't shut us
fear
up. It's
of
just
vulnerability.
we're processing everything. Yeah.
And as women, we're if you just think about women receiving, taking in, and men giving out. So men have to project this thing, the ego thing maybe you were talking about before, and where women I think to be the best that we can be, I think is to be in a really receptive place. So I think men have a difficult time being receptive. So basically being in touch with their feminine. Just being okay, I'm just gonna receive and slow down a little bit and talk about how I feel about something, which feels really vulnerable, but I'm just gonna do that instead of rah.
Well, nowadays it's the biggest trend to be an alpha male, and when you say something about being in touch with your feminine side and whatnot, that is why would I ever do that to an alpha male and whatnot?
I think to be a more well-rounded human being.
Which is I can't speak to that point. You'd have to talk to someone who considers themselves to be an alpha male and whatnot. Because what you're saying obviously is logical and whatnot. But what they'll say is I don't know, that's what the woman's for and whatnot. I'm here to provide or do whatever or be strong or go to the gym or whatever it used to be. But it's talking to someone that has that perspective or that identity or whatever you want to call it. It's always almost talking to a wall.
I mean, I guess if that's working for them, but if they have some mental health issues, then maybe they should start addressing the way that they're thinking about things.
Right.
Yeah, where do those emotions go? Because all humans have emotions. You can't escape that. So where do those emotions that those alpha males are having go?
Porn.
Important. What's it called? I'll have to set you guys up with some alpha males so you can interrogate them.
I've had my share.
But it would be.
Oh, see? So then you know a few. You can bring them by.
But what's your sense of where those emotions go, or how they channel them, or how maybe the suppression of those emotions ultimately manifest themselves in other forms?
In my experience,
right? Someone punching a hole in the wall, for example, is
exactly.
In my experience, they'll say that you're too emotional or whatever when emotions are being brought up. What do you mean? It's very infuriating to have a conversation with someone who can't even have a conversation about their emotions and whatnot. If they're literally somebody was triggered on the podcast, I told them that, hey man, you seem like you're triggered, and that triggered them even more, which makes sense, but he couldn't calm down to see that he was being triggered. And I'm just what's going on right now, because you're we're having a normal conversation and you're getting in an uproar and whatnot. But that's one of 1,000 different lists of
people
examples.
Don't have a more conscious response when they're emotionally dysregulated. So that's why, it's so beneficial that when you're feeling so emotionally dysregulated, you got to go take a walk,
right.
Breathe,
even if you tell
do the
guy,
things that are going to help you to kind of replenish and shift gears, move a muscle, change a thought, kind of a deal.
Right.
Rather than staying in it and trying to make it better because, people see red, right? We hear that expression a lot.
Letting it out, letting these emotions air out and not letting them build up so much. I think
because the building of tension.
Being a ninja. It's finding control over your chi life force and being okay, I'm not gonna let this anger take over me. I'm gonna work with it and know that it's energy, but I don't have to be taken by it and pulled into this destructive place.
I also think that kind of goes with the conversation we were having before about like, because like similar to like resentment, someone who has resentment, likely isn't going to do the necessary things they need to do to fix themselves and whatnot. So I feel like someone that's like misogynist or an alpha male or whatever the case would be is all those, or doesn't deal well with their emotions, or like communicating their emotions and whatnot, isn't gonna do that. So it's like it ends up being like a cycle,
a vicious cycle.
Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking like too earlier when you were sharing, Sarah, that when you think of like the history of men being warriors or soldiers, right? Or even like when we hear about people going through boot camp, and obviously there are women warriors and soldiers as well in the world, but they've been dominated by males for sure. And when you think of people going through that experience, they're not encouraged to feel their emotions. They're encouraged to suppress them so that you can show up with
This is so true.
with the physique, the physical presence in order to go to war and fight.
And to not think about your actions.
There's a conditioning that happens and has happened historically that still happens today. I mean, forget it. We have plenty of war on this planet, Gosh, it's so intense. But, where I remember I've seen some documentaries of like child soldiers in Africa, like Rwanda, for example, right? Where, they will traditionally feed alcohol and drugs. This happens way beyond there. It happens all over. Like it's happened in our country. It's probably happening as we speak right now in so many places around the world. But, let's numb those emotions through use of alcohol and drugs so that the soldiers can show up and they can just fight and not be in touch with all the traumas and tragedies that they're exposed to in this moment, because that will break the human spirit.
Yeah.
100%, that level of trauma.
That makes sense. That makes sense, but that's also crazy. But like, it makes sense. It like makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's where opiate epidemic came from. Soldiers back in the day would be fed all sorts of drugs.
Including like mind
to
control.
get through it.
Like including like ways of
Totally
thinking.
brainwashing. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you know anybody who's ever been through boot camp, but I know plenty, and it's like, good luck.
Yeah,
But that's how
crazy.
we break the human mind a bit.
So it's
so
like
that
you have
can
to be an
disconnect from those emotions.
Yeah, so you have to like find what you feel like is the right thing. Like you have to find the truth in yourself, I think, and not be a follower. I don't know. That's my motto.
Uh-oh.
I think that's my motto.
We want your voice to
One of
be
them.
heard, Jelani.
Thanks.
Put it back on.
At least someone does. Well, cool. Very cool.
But so Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, right?
Right.
We have a men's group here at Evolutionary Psychotherapy and Holistic Healing. And we've got lots of men who are a part of it, and it keeps growing. It's growing to the point where we're actually going to be starting a second men's group.
That's
because
awesome.
we're busting at the seams.
So they get
So
together
there's
and they
lots
just talk? They just have like a...
Yeah, I mean, it's facilitated by one of our psychotherapists here, David, and then we also have another male psychotherapist named Shia, who is going to be facilitating the second men's group. We used to have a male psychotherapist in training. His name was Jeff, and he started the men's group here. And it's been really lovely to see all these men coming out to support each other in all the life issues that go on, and to give a voice to the emotions that come up in any human, whether you're male or female or trans or...
What are some of the big things that come up in the men's group? Like what are there like themes of...
Definitely relationships. Like when you were just sharing before about, the alpha male and, the alpha, maybe the typical alpha male's response, if they were confronted around emotions and feeling emotions, might be like, oh, well, the woman holds those emotions. Well, if you're someone who wants to have a healthy relationship with a female, you got to learn how to deal with emotions, because women want that. I'll tell you. And I'm not the only woman who would tell you that. I think any
I'll tell
woman
you
would.
I
She seconds that.
agree.
But really, like if you want to have a healthy relationship with a woman, and I would say the same for a male, because women also, it's important for them to for that reciprocity, to reciprocate that very same nature, which is to be supportive to each other's emotional well-being, right? And to understand where we're coming from. This is all like heterosexual partnerships too. Obviously, there's way more than that. But if we're speaking in those terms, then I would say it's really important for men to get more in touch with their emotions, because that's going to support their relationship if they are in a heterosexual relationship.
Or
I would say the same for
a-
homosexual
yeah,
too. It doesn't matter.
for any
Yeah.
relationship.
Any relationship, yeah. For sure. But anything else that you want to check in about that, or questions? Or
I have an alpha male here to
Okay.
see if you guys agree or disagree with.
Okay.
let's check them out.
Let's check them
Those
out.
figures, the things that women are. You can't date women just don't qualify for the top tier men, and that is the truth.
Do you believe you're a top tier man? By what standard?
I'm 6'4". Only about what? 8% of the entire world is 6'4". I make well over 100K a year, and I'm black at that if you add that on. So just if we speak about those figures, the things that women are attracted to, no, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I'll let you do the math.
Before we go, what's your math saying?
The conversation and the words that are coming out of the mouth of someone like you, I would never consider top tier. A top tier man is also a man that is extremely desirable by way of his character. A top tier man is a man who displays a certain level of intellect that allows him to consider other people. A top tier man, they lead with love, not with dictatorship. Right?
Yes.
They don't want to control their woman. They want to gently lead their woman. A top tier
Yes.
man creates space for a woman to feel good about herself. A top tier man supports the dreams and the ideas of a woman. A top tier man prioritizes a woman. A top tier man is in leadership and working as hard as he is to give the woman the life of her dream.
And with
But
all
Woo!
that you just said, that was
Well-
just womanese talk.
Woman needs is also
Look,
6'4",
look,
black, attractive.
look,
I don't know
what-
too many
like-
women in my circle
like
who desire
what-
a 6'4" man still wearing braids.
Ooh,
What are our
Damn.
thoughts?
power to
I have a lot
that
of thoughts.
intention.
A lot of thoughts,
Yeah.
Okay.
such as.
Okay, the first thing, so that video didn't show him saying any, I don't know who that person is, and I don't know what he was talking about before he started talking about how he was a top tier man. But I think, he's attractive. And so he's doing all those, he's physically attractive, he's financially set, so he's healthy, he's robust. So that's attractive.
So, but his first
Externally.
his first statement was that most modern day women don't qualify for a top tier man.
They don't qualify for him because he's so great. So
Him or he's saying his initial thought was top tier man in general, and then he was asked, "Is he a top tier man?" and he described himself.
okay. So he doesn't think there's that many top tier women. Is that what he's saying?
No, I think ultimately what was happening there was that he was saying, I am a top tier man, and this is why. I'm 6'4", I look good, I got money. That was pretty much it. And then she was saying, yeah, all those things are great, but to me, the way in which I would define a top tier man is X, Y, Z, and she named many more qualities.
Which were all
to me,
yes,
it was
yes.
It was him identifying external qualities.
Yeah.
Because even though, it takes some internal qualities to make 100K a year. It's still the way in which he was identifying that particular quality about himself. It felt more it felt like it came from a more external source than it did an internal source. It felt like it was more about wearing the mask. I look good, I'm tall, I'm black, and I've got money. So I'm a top tier man. And she's like, okay, but what about? And then names so many internal qualities that he didn't identify that clearly were missing from what she would recognize a top tier man to be.
But we don't know if they were missing or not because we didn't see his character.
Well,
We just
he
saw
only
him.
names those other ones.
But,
yeah.
but as a human being, he might have some of those
No,
characteristics.
he definitely could have all of them,
Right.
but I'm just saying that was how he coined
yeah.
Right.
himself, right? That's
It's true.
It's
That's how
like
he
if
defines
you
top
were on a
tier.
dating app,
And-
right? It's you get to identify the qualities that you bear for the other people out in the world to see, and that was what he decided to say,
And
right? He
he
could have said a million
deemed-
things, but he was like, money, black, look good,
tall.
tall,
And he deemed everything that she said as, and I quote, womanese.
womanese.
So
Which is
Well, I'm a womanese.
the one thing that, when the thing is.
No,
that
I don't
when
know. I don't even know what that
I
means.
think that she turned it at the end. So she said a lot of things that I am in total alignment with. And then at the end she said, because the man needs to be supporting the woman's dream. And like that is kind of like, okay, you kind of like, she kind of took it a little too far, I think, in that statement, because I think it should be equal.
Right.
Reciprocal. But
Well,
I don't
that
think
also
she
doesn't say that it's not equal.
Exactly. I don't think she was necessarily saying that she's only expecting that the man support a woman's
Right.
dreams. I think she's saying that is something that would make you a top tier man, and I'm sure with that would come her being reciprocal in supporting him in his dreams too.
For sure.
Yeah,
But
I
get-
believe in
get where
reciprocity in relationship. Like that's, to me, that is a really important quality when it comes to a relationship.
It's a green
like
flag.
by no means, it's a green flag. Yeah, by no means would I ever want to be in a relationship where it doesn't feel reciprocal.
Right.
Yeah,
That
like
makes
the
sense.
support
For sure.
should go both ways.
Of course.
But yeah, I feel like just his whole demeanor, it felt like there was kind of a barrier, a wall that he creates, you know, maybe with
kind
other
of
women.
fighting. He's like putting
yeah,
up
like
like a
it's more
fight.
about a fight, right? Rather
a
than
fighter,
just
not a
being
lover.
like, hey,
But,
yeah.
right. But that's why I was saying, like, that's really the tip of the iceberg. I can go, maybe go on
Yeah.
a rabbit hole with that guy, because he has a podcast where he invites women on to basically like debate them and kind of like over what is the word? Not over talk, but like be loud or whatever. Overshadow them. In conversation, sometimes they like walk out, sometimes they throw drinks on them, different things of that nature. But like that's why I can't really speak for an alpha male. Like it's easier to just like put them on display and like see how their minds think and whatnot, and then just poke it apart, because it doesn't really.
It's
mean-
not really strength though. When someone's so arrogant, it's not coming from
not
a place
attractive.
of genuine strength. It's coming from a place of,
Right. So again, I
Yeah,
can't.
that's
I
not
can't.
attractive.
I can't retaliate, but
Yeah.
he would have retaliation.
right.
I think some women would be drawn to a male like that because ultimately they would want to change that man.
Do you think
Because
that
a
some
lot of people, you know, we all know this, right? A lot of people find that the relationship will end when the person hasn't changed in the way that you want them to, right? That is like number one storyline for why relationships end. And I feel like there's plenty of women who would be drawn to a man like him because they would want to soften him, or they would want him to get in touch with his emotions, but he's got a strong wall. Like it would be challenging to do that with a man like him. I'd prefer to just meet a man who's already at the place of being that top tier
Gotcha.
man, you know what I'm saying?
makes
Because
sense.
I've been with plenty of men that, you know, weren't at that place, and the relationship can be challenging. You know, it's nice to meet a man who's already invested in their own healing,
Of course.
and growth and development and reciprocity within that relationship. So there's that reciprocal nature of going back and forth and support of each other, you know, rather than the fight. Yeah, you touched upon that. I think that's a really good point. It did feel like he was fighting. You know, it's like, oof, who wants to walk into that energy?
Do you think that some women prefer to be, quote unquote, put in their place?
No.
No.
Really?
But I think that some women
Or
might-
like dominated, or
Yes. Okay, dominated is different than put in your place.
That's different.
Okay.
Well, is it willing domination?
Yeah.
I think that there's something about a strong man that where you feel protected. Like if someone's really
Yeah.
confident and strong, and they're like, ah, and you're like yes, like take care of me. I don't know. There is something about that. Yeah, about confidence and strength.
Well, I feel like taking care of a woman is, there's a difference between that and dominated, like being dominated by a man and whatnot. Like so, like.
Are we talking about possession? Like that kind of energy,
yes.
like possessive, like
being possessed, I guess.
you've got rules. That's also kind of abusive.
that is not healthy.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that. I'm not saying
Right.
either one of you would like that. I'm just saying, are there not women that would? That
I don't think women like it, but there are a lot of women that are in that situation.
That
No
put up
doubt
with
about
it.
that. We wouldn't have domestic violence shelters anymore if that wasn't the case. We wouldn't have orders of protection anymore if that weren't the case. The list goes on.
So
like
you don't think
it
that-
happens plenty.
You
And
don't
it's,
think there's women out there that like prefer toxic men?
I think that they probably like see good qualities in the toxic men, and they overlook the bad parts.
absolutely.
You think that every woman that's in a toxic relationship wants to change that man?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Deep down, they see that little boy who's suffering in that abuser, and they want to bring
They
out
wanna,
the
like-
beauty and heal that man.
Yes, they want to take care
Trust
of them.
me.
It's like, it's also actually,
This is the part where I wish another guy was here. but
it
it's
also
fine.
actually, I think, brings out in
Well,
some
what do you
ways
think?
the nurturer.
I've heard from women that they prefer a man that is, I don't know, it's weird. Like I've heard women say that they want to be smacked around at some point or
Well,
whatever.
it depends on like how you're gonna,
like-
it depends.
Well, no, but seriously, that's true. What Sarah's saying, it depends. Are we talking about like a willingness, a desire for that?
Well, I mean, we're kind of in sticky territory.
Is it ever
Consent.
Not
is
violence.
it ever
Is there
okay?
consent?
I don't know what you mean by
Is it
smacked.
ever okay outside of the bedroom?
No.
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 Okay. So
No.
that's what I'm saying. So it's like when they're talking about that, they're not necessarily talking about in the bedroom. So it's like that's why
Listen,
again, it's fine.
I would put money on.
Okay.
Yeah, no, 100%. I would put money on
What?
any of these. Well, I haven't even said it yet.
Oh yeah, I'm listening. I said
Okay,
what?
listen, and then we're gonna. I would
Anxious.
put money on any of these women that you're saying, who are identifying like enjoy being smacked around. I would put money on like, where is their relationship now? Like, what kind of state is that relationship in
I don't
right
even
now?
know- like,
I don't even
believe
imagine
that.
that they would be together. Like, it's just a matter of time before those relationships
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
Fall.
Yeah.
it can only last for so long, you know.
think
It's
there-
only a matter of time before something gets to the point where you lose it. You know, I've
course.
worked with so many people
Yeah,
like
I believe
who
you.
have gone through it, you know, and domestic violence shelters and all of that. It's like you can only be in that for so long before you realize, like, damn, like my life is in shambles.
That makes sense.
So I don't know. I would love.
I
to
wouldn't
hear-
take that bet. 'Cause
I would love to hear
you're
from
right.
those women who have said that to you,
Mm-hmm.
though. I'm just like, what's up with that? You know what I mean? Maybe it's recreating a pattern from what they experienced in their upbringing. It's interesting, you know, when you're in a relationship with an abusive man, we'll just say in this case, right? There is this really strange, it's like a paradox. On one hand, they're the person who could murder you. So there's a fear. On the other hand, there's a person who will protect you because they are so possessive of you and they don't want anyone to kind of get to you. So there's this, you know, this kind of awkward relationship that happens between this immense fear and this ultra protection that's happening within this one human being that you're experiencing. It's very confusing. It's brainwashing. I mean, there's brainwashing that happens in these relationships, but it's really difficult for people to sometimes dissect, you know, because they're experiencing these two opposing forces
Right.
simultaneously. He protects me, but he also beats the fuck out of me to the point where I could be murdered. And it's a really difficult, you know, experience to kind of make sense of. And again, another reason why it's so important to have support in your life, because you will just go through a mental battle that you'll be in for as long as you will until you can't anymore. But at least with having support around you, you start to dissect some of that confusion to better understand what's going on and hopefully get to a place where you can recognize, like, I deserve better. And as does the man that's being abusive too. That's why a lot of women stay, you know, stuck in these relationships, because they want to see that man heal. They want to see that man get to a better place.
Let me ask you another-
They
let me
see
ask you another
those
question,
wounds
Molly.
and they experience those wounds, and it's painful. It's really painful. Yeah. I know about this stuff,
no.
not just professionally.
Of course. So another question, piggybacking on that, do you think there are women out there that want to be controlled by men?
That want to be? I think maybe to some level, yeah, absolutely. There are some women who may like that, you know. I think one of the storylines that comes through, one of the narratives that so frequently plays out for women that are going through these experiences is, wow, he really likes me. He really cares about me. He's really focused on me. That possessiveness, it's like, you know, there's two sides to every coin. On one side, ooh, it's scary. On the other side, it's like, ooh, he's so into me.
Right.
Like I'm the one that is the center of his world. And that feels really good for a woman because women love reassurance.
Right.
We
For a
crave
while.
it.
That's what I was getting at. Like obviously they might not want to. Not most women will want to be in that situation. I think it's a perplexing thing. Similar to how like an alpha male I can't relate, and it seems like this is a situation or perspective that you guys can't relate to because you're not those type of women. But when you think back on it, you can think of instances where, oh, this does fit that description
Totally.
or whatever because they like the possession or the reassurance and the different things of that nature. Sarah, you about to say something?
I was thinking about women, like, to be the best woman is to, like, really unfold and to, like, unfold, like, okay, this is going to sound like another hippie Woodstock thing,
That's fine.
but, like,
Lay it on me.
unfold like a flower.
Okay, like an onion?
No,
No.
I don't know. Sure, whatever. I guess.
They say onions have layers to them or whatever. I'm sorry. go
Yeah,
on.
layers. But, like, I think I like the image of the flower a little
It's
better
better,
than the
yeah.
onion. The onion's, like, a little, like, makes you
Little
cry.
gross, yeah.
Flowers smell a little better
Who doesn't
than an
want
onion.
onions on their pizza though?
That's
I
true.
do
I
like
could go
onions
for
on my
those.
pizza.
Right?
I
See?
could go for those. Yeah.
What's your favorite topping on pizza? I don't mean to
My
take
favorite is a
pineapple or
combination.
something.
Yeah, it's pineapple and
I'm
artichokes.
so not
Pineapple and
surprised.
artichoke pizza, I'm telling you, is the bomb.
artichokes.
Artichokes because it's like the salty and it's like, you know, the savory.
What's artichoke? Like I feel like I'm
An artichoke?
Yeah, what is that? That's fish?
No.
What is
a
that?
plant.
No, it's a vegetable.
Huh.
Yeah.
Pineapple.
Like an
or
artichoke. Women
We'll
should
have to
unfold
we'll
like
have to
an
go out for
artichoke.
pizza and get it sometime.
That's fine. I'll get buffalo
Let's do
chicken.
that. And we'll do half onions for you and then we'll do the other half with the pineapple and
onion sounds
artichoke.
crazy.
No, I'm saying we'll do
Half
one
and
half
half?
with your onions and whatever else you want to put on there. And the other half
Buffalo
we'll do
chicken.
from Mali, which is
Now I lost my train of thought.
artichokes and pineapples.
You were saying
It
blossom
was
like a
something-
flower.
Woodstock
okay, but it was
hippie
something
love.
about,
But
there
before
was
that,
something about
what's your
men,
favorite
like,
topping on pizza?
cheese.
Just straight cheese, plain Jane.
Is that for
I mean-
real? You only like just
No,
cheese?
I've been actually making a lot of pizza with my son.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
her son Reed is
and
the
he's
cutest
been
little
like
thing.
making
Yeah.
his own dough, and he like watches all these YouTube videos on like making.
He's like a little
pizza,
chef,
and
so cute.
like
We've
it.
just been making mostly plain pizza, but
That's dope. That's cool.
yeah.
Back to your flower.
Okay. So that men. See, now I lost it. It was something about men protecting.
Opening up, like no,
But
women.
the-
Women need to
Flowers.
open up like flowers.
Oh,
Not
but, the
onions.
possession, the possessiveness is that like a woman wants a man who will protect and who will like nurture that. But if they start to like try to put the flower in a box or something, or try to like, or the caged bird, or
Beauty and the Beast with the.
oh yeah, that is
See,
it is in there. Yes, something where it's like
that's like a
when-
magical
when-
flower though.
When you're trying to contain something though and like be like, this is just mine, then it becomes, it can start to like feel like it actually sours that power.
That's a good analogy. I like that. Could turn it into a song or something.
I could.
I like it. Very cool. We're all
I was
over
just
the place
thinking.
today.
I know we are.
But go ahead, Molly. You want
Yeah.
to take it somewhere else?
I don't know. This just came up, so I feel like why not share it? But I'm just thinking of the connection for people getting really attracted to a player. Right? On one hand, it's kind of like what I was describing before about, there's two sides to every coin. And it's like, on one hand, let's just say, in the example of like women falling for players, like in the moment when they're with that player, they can feel like the total queen, right? But then the minute,
Crap.
what?
I had a crazy chill. Sorry. Go
You
ahead.
did?
Yeah, it's
Oh, maybe there's something to it.
maybe not.
Or maybe not.
Don't overthink.
Maybe it's a little chilly in here.
Maybe.
We could turn the heat up, but anyway.
Players.
Yeah, players. But then when they're not with them anymore, there's an immense feeling of rejection, right? Why am I not good enough? There's those limiting beliefs, right? Why does this person not want to be with me more? Why is this person playing games with me? Why is this person, hanging out with so-and-so? Or I heard that they were with so-and-so. But we get addicted to this kind of like magnetism, right? Of like, ooh, how do I feel when that person actually shows up and they're fully present, as opposed to that opposite experience, which is that rejection, right? We know that rejection breeds obsession. So that's what happens in these relationship dynamics, is that people end up becoming so obsessed with the person who's rejecting them and waiting for those little dopamine hits when they're back in their life, which could become far and few between.
But if someone was with the alpha male that we were talking about before, that's the possessive quality, that's like so focused on the woman, but to this extent of like extreme, where then the person feels like kind of like suffocated.
Yeah, they're held hostage.
And then the other option is like, oh, well, this person isn't gonna like trap me. They're gonna like let me be free. But then if they're not really showing up, then it's like the opposite problem.
Yeah, I don't think most people feel really free when they're with a player. You know, they kind of feel like they're being held hostage, but held hostage in the rejection.
It's
which
a different
seems
kind of
weird, right? Because it's like, oh, does that really make sense? But it's a phenomenon.
I think it's all about finding balance.
It is a phenomenon.
It's like finding like, someone who is present and there but not suffocating, and like finding that happy, sweet spot.
I like it.
Are we all over the place?
It's fine. It's definitely fine.
I think he likes all
I hope
of
we're
this.
sharing some content that's meaningful for people
Yeah.
out there in the world.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Question.
Well, are there more comments?
Question for you. Are men evil?
No.
No.
All right. So with that being said, I just want to introduce you to
Well,
another
there is
clip.
evil in the world. Evil exists, but I don't think all men
I think
are
I think
evil.
there's people who do evil things, but I don't really necessarily see people as evil, because as many people as there are who have done evil things, they've also done plenty of amazing, incredible things.
Well,
you
this
know?
woman disagrees with you, Molly.
The inherent fact that men are evil, that is true. Like man as a whole is evil. Like just as an entity, a general idea. Men have inflicted violence and oppression on the world in ways that are irreparable. Like, it's okay if we say that out loud. It's okay if we say that men are inherently evil. It's like, it's not all men, but for some reason, always a man. Every time something terrible happens, always a man, like 99% of the time. So I feel like it's a lot simpler than people may think. I don't hate my man, I hate most men. And for me, I think given what men have done to me personally, to people I love, and the world as a whole, if they all start guilty and have to work their way to innocent, that's not really a big deal to me. I feel very like convicted in that. It's very like, if you're not awful, prove it. Quit talking about it and fucking do it. Because the men who complain that they really hate hearing like, oh, what about all men? Oh, all men, all men. A lot of this, not a lot of action. The inherent fact that men are evil, that is true.
What are our thoughts of that spiel?
I think there's lots of evil women also. I think
Okay.
evil exists. Evil action, evil, violence. But it doesn't mean that all men are evil.
Okay.
I believe that quality exists, but it doesn't. But every human being can like take it upon themselves to live their life the best way that they can.
That's not the capacity. What the word we used before? Capable, I guess.
Oh yeah, everyone's capable
Capability,
of
yeah.
like not succumbing to evil.
Makes sense, but that also doesn't let's use Adolf Hitler, since we won't use a certain somebody. I would think we can all say that he was an evil man. So it's like, yeah, he was capable.
He was also mentally ill. He was very mentally ill.
What you talking about, Sarah?
Well, he was like a massive drug addict, and he was mentally ill. To do that, you're mentally ill. It's like he's
Okay.
like he was not well. He was not a well man.
So do you?
I don't think that if someone is ultimately healthy, they wouldn't do something like that.
So do you feel that way about all serial killers? Like he's more than a serial killer, but do you feel like serial killers are more
Unwell, yes.
They are unwell, but are they not also evil? Or do you like, what do you?
They're
what do you say?
perpetuating evil and they're unwell. It's like a disease.
So do you feel like they're evil because they're unwell? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think evil exists, and there's unwell people who perpetuate it. I don't know if one is because of the other.
Okay. Interesting. Molly?
I don't really like to conform to like generalizing people in general.
Okay.
In general, I don't like to generalize. But so I wouldn't say all men are and all women are and all la la la. But I don't really think that there are evil people in the world. I think there are people who do evil things. That's the distinction that I think is really important for me to make in my own perception of this all. I think that there are people who have done really evil things that also have done really incredible things. I think when people do evil acts, it's the result of their internal suffering, whether it was something that they experienced in their upbringing or some trauma that's unresolved, whatever the case may be. Learned behavior, right? I've definitely watched plenty of serial killer documentaries to kind of learn some of the backstories of some of the people who have committed awful crimes, and 9 times or 10 times out of 10, it's like they've had horrific experiences in their lives and they're recreating something because they haven't had the proper support to transmute that and transform and heal from what they've been through. So I think there's amazing, beautiful, incredible people in the world who can do evil things. I think it's really the act of evil, not the person, the human themselves. Because I've also seen amazing, I've seen people move through their own pain and suffering and transform into way better beings than they were when they committed certain crimes that they've done. So I've seen that potential in people to heal and to no longer do the evil things that they may have once done in their lives. There's plenty who don't recover, but again, similar to what you were just saying, it's like that kind of falls on the people having the capability to do it, but not always necessarily the willingness to change themselves and to commit to their growth and transformational process. But ever so often we see an incredible heroic story out there, right? Where someone really works, on their own healing process and does that inner work that's necessary in order for them to create a better life for themselves. Thank you.
Nice. So if someone does one evil thing, then they're not evil, obviously. But if someone does 100 evil things, you don't feel like that person is evil?
I don't think it's the person. I think there's a suffering in that person, but I think that lack of healing around their suffering can ultimately be manifested in evil actions. But I don't really see the human as...
It's like a sickness.
Like, think of the little babies when they're born. Are they born evil? Like, if they sometimes now, if they were born evil, I would say, there is evil that's born into this world, but I don't think babies are born evil.
It's there. It's just in the society. It's in the stories.
Yeah, nature, nurture, right?
So do you
I
not
think
believe
it's
in
more
good people
nurture than I think it's a combination of nature and nurture, but it's really the nurturing experience, right? I think there's more influence in someone's surroundings and what they've been exposed to and what they go through and their lack of support and healing that then determines, their actions, which sometimes can show up in the form of evil.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying.
Good. It's like that. What was that story of? I know it's in a movie. I didn't see the movie, but it's where they feed the different. There's a good wolf and a bad wolf, and they feed the good wolf, and then the good wolf thrives.
Yeah.
But if they feed the bad wolf, and the bad wolf thrives. So it's like what you feed.
Yeah, it's a Cherokee legend. It's the story of this little boy who sits on his grandfather's lap, and he says, and the grandfather tells him this story. It's a Cherokee legend where the grandfather says, there's 2 wolves that live inside of you. One is the good wolf that has all these amazing, beautiful qualities. The other is the bad wolf, which has all of these negative, challenging, difficult qualities. And then the little boy says, well, which one wins? If they're both a battle amongst each other. And the grandfather says, the one that you feed.
That's beautiful.
That's the one that wins, is the one that you feed. Do you feed your good wolf or do you feed your bad wolf? So I think when we feed the bad wolf is when the evil emits. But we also have a good wolf inside. All of those people that might be coined as evil. Should we start howling?
You guys should go for it.
Ow! We're feeding good wolves right now. Because good wolves howl. Right? Other wolves
I don't know
silence.
what kind of wolves are out there.
All right, so I have a message
John is
from
like, okay, let's.
Dick Mensa. I want to see what you guys think of his message. Put it right here.
I was thinking about the weight of being an artist at a time when work is so devalued and depreciated. The impact on the mental health of artists the streaming era is creating. I remember I saw James Blake was launching that platform Vault, where he was having artists put their catalogs unreleased up, and I saw a comment on it that was like, why would I pay $10 to one artist when I could pay $10 for all artists ever? And at the time I was like, that's so fried of a mentality, but like today it kind of hit me like how impacts the mental health of artists. People feel like not worth $10. You know what I'm saying? It's heartbreaking, but it's hilarious at the same time. Like, not worth $10. Artists are already people that are predisposed to suicide. Like, they're not funny, but that's real. To add into that a dimension of economic inequity so profound that not even in the shower, just thinking about the weight of being an artist at a time when work is.
I mean, I think it's about art and commerce. If you're going to be an artist, you kind of, in some way, are you doing it for the commerce, or are you doing it for the art? And if you're doing it for the commerce, then I don't know. It's a whole different way of doing art than if you're doing it for the art.
Could you be doing it for both? Like, if you're doing it to
I think that you
both?
can find a balance.
Right.
Definitely. That's what I do in my life.
That's the
Like,
goal.
I'm an artist, and I find a way to like make a living, solely through my art.
That makes sense.
And I did it, and I feel like I'm like accomplishing something, even though I'm not very wealthy in like my bank account. I feel like I'm wealthy in my life, and
Right.
I have like my art is like sustaining me and feeding me.
Right. It's definitely tough, but it's good when you climb that mountain or get to the top of it. And who knows, it might continue to go in that direction like a year from now, 5 years from now, and whatnot. So happy for you.
Thank you.
No problem. Molly?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of perspectives on what he shared. Do you have like a specific question that you want answered, just so
Not
I'm
necessarily
clear?
a specific question, just like what did you get from it? And like,
Yeah.
and what are your points that you have?
You know, I've been pondering this whole like starving artist, and it's funny because you mentioned that term earlier before I think we were filming. But I've been pondering that term a lot throughout my life because I feel like it creates this self-fulfilling prophecy for artists. Like, it's almost like there becomes this expectation that like you're gonna be broke if you're doing your art. And it sucks for people, because for people who feel really passionate about being creative and creating their art, whatever kind of art it may be, to not be able, like, to put yourself in this category where you lead yourself to believe that you're unable to sustain your life as a result of being an artist is sad, you know? And I've known a lot of artists who have actually gotten into other career paths as a means to be able to support themselves financially while doing their passion, their love for art, whatever type, music, art, whatever, on the side. It does take quite a skill set to be able to kind of make it work for yourself financially while also creating your art. And some people do it really well. We also know of so many artists who, you know, end up, let's say musicians, for example, you know, signing with a record label and are making really good money, but maybe are not working ethically or
maybe not
are following,
authentically.
and that was the other point I was going to say, is that following, not following their own creative kind of script for how they create their own art, and rather are abiding by the rules of the system that they've subscribe to as a result to, pay for their meals
Which is making
and
art
pay for their
commerce.
housing.
It's it's
Yeah.
commerce of music.
And it taints their mission, really. It taints their passion. And so then that process in and of itself can then dismantle their very desire to create in the way that they've wanted to, because now they don't feel like they can in the same way that they once did. So anyway, I would love, to inspire humanity into paying artists for what they deserve. And I've done that personally and professionally too. And I mean, even just before this filming today, I went to see my friends have this band, Mbolo, my friend Amadou, and Theo and Jessie was there actually. That's one of her musicians and Sarah's band. But anyway, and they were like passing, someone who works at the place, the venue, was like passing around a basket, and like no one was putting money in. And I was like, "What's your Venmo?" And so they shared their Venmo out loud. And I was like, I don't think anyone's going to really like pay these guys for their time. And meanwhile, they're like busting their ass to have this beautiful African music, West African music that was so lovely. And I know how hard these guys work in their life. And I know none of them are doing music full time. It's their side hustle because they have a full-time gig to pay the bills, But I'm like, I'm going to send them their Venmo, because it's like, I know, I'm a musician also. I know what it takes to have so many rehearsals and so much your instruments and just the time and energy and money that goes into your art. And to then not receive that reciprocation of gratitude through the use, through funds, I guess, basically. But it's a nice exchange when you can have that.
In cultures where they have government subsidies for the artists, and like touring in Europe,
that's nice.
A lot of the venues will get money from the government, so you get like a guarantee, like exactly how much you're going to make at every gig, and then you can sell your merchandise too, and they'll put you up at nice hotels.
That's
and
crazy.
Feed you like beautiful meals of like wonderful food from the area, and it's just like you feel so like loved and supported. And
that's so lovely.
Here you're like lugging your gear around New York City and like trying to fill 30 people into the bitter end or whatever, as many people as you can, and like then getting like half of that, and then that venue is also struggling, and there's like it's just hard. It's hard to make it happen here.
Yeah, there's almost like this expectation that like, entertainment should be free. And on one hand, I can totally buy into that because I'm like, yeah, like it's how beautiful is it to have murals throughout Kingston, right? These incredible art murals, some of which you've done, right? Or to have like artists, like before we started shooting, right? There's like this whole little festival going on down the street where people are playing music, and it's like so lovely to be surrounded by art all the time. But it does come with a cost, and when people have that expectation that it should be free, and people aren't, and the artists themselves are not being compensated, it can create like, I think, a disruption in the whole system itself. And so, yeah, it would be lovely if America adopted a bit more of a way to compensate artists, for example. I mean, a lot of people here will apply for grants. They don't always get them, though, unfortunately. And I know that there's been some challenges with the recent administration not having as many funds for the arts, which, can be really challenging for the artists who have been relying upon some of those types of funds. Anyway, I believe in supporting our artists. I guess that's my spiel in general. It's just like, support everyone so we can all live a better life.
Makes sense. I like it. As far as, I don't know what you would call it, not a gripe, but yeah, I feel like you dislike the term starving artist.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm like, let me think about that.
I
think we need to dismantle it. Yeah, I just, like, what if we called ourselves abundant artists? Would there be a self-fulfilling prophecy that would bring more abundance in? I feel like it's a limiting belief just to say starving. Right? You're already projecting scarcity for yourself.
I get that. That makes
so
sense.
If we said, I'm an abundant artist.
Or just an artist.
Would that attract a bit more of that abundance in life? Or just an artist? Yeah, you kind of coin it how you want to.
Right. I would just personally think abundant artist, like, if you're not living in abundance, then what, like I get it for the manifestation purposes and whatnot.
I mean, when I think of, that quote that I shared initially, that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Like even that artist, that musician, for example, who gets signed by a label and is making bills, might not feel very fulfilled in that process. Yeah, they got more money in the bank, but they're starving emotionally or spiritually, right? So
would you do that?
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's whatever like floats your boat. To that alpha male guy, like that 100K is, his world, right? Like that's his focus is the money. He might not be as focused on his emotional well-being. But his woman might be like, you seem kind of miserable. Maybe you should focus on that emotional well-being a little bit more,
Would you be financially, would you choose to be financially well off if it meant you weren't 100% fulfilled, or would you not do it because you'd rather be 100% fulfilled and not well off?
Fulfillment is more, fulfillment is way
But if
more
you're not
than
fulfilled-
money.
But if you're not able to pay your bills, so then you're not really fulfilled if you don't have any money, because you need
True.
money to live. So then you're not really, you can't. We do need money.
Right. No, of course. That
So-
was the question is like, that's why I asked
Would
questions.
you sacrifice your integrity for money?
Not even, I wouldn't say your integrity. That's a different conversation. But so say if you could pay all your bills, you would rather versus being financially well off, you would rather and not having the full fulfillment, you would rather just be able to pay your bills and be fully fulfilled versus being financially well off and being slightly unfulfilled?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because as long as you can pay the bills and you can live a comfortable life and you're able to
That's the
what you love.
hippie Woodstocking, yeah.
but do what you love to do.
That's good.
Yeah.
Molly, you the same?
There are plenty of billionaires on the planet that are very miserable. I'm just going to say that. The great Bob Marley said, some people are so poor, all they have is money.
I mean, probably one of the richest men right now is probably really miserable right now. For sure.
Indeed.
Two of the richest men, they're being in either of their skins, the people that we were going to talk about that we're not talking about because we don't want to give attention to it, they're so devoid. They're in a zombie apocalypse. They're just they're not happy men.
So you both believe that money doesn't buy happiness?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
But it can buy things that make you happy. Whatever toppings on your pizza you want.
There's that.
Pizza with or without toppings.
Right. Plain Jane.
That's the difference.
Well, we have been at this for 2 hours.
Wow!
So if you guys
Never a dull moment.
if there's anything else you guys would like to say before we sign off, feel free.
Thank you so much
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
bringing us on the show. It was a really beautiful afternoon with lots of incredible topics.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed having
Yeah.
you both. Sarah, I hope you felt comfortable and welcomed
Yeah.
in Sarah's Molly's space and whatnot.
Of course. Yes, thank you.
Welcome back.
Very cool. And yeah, I would love to have you both back anytime.
Cool.
Cool. And you have to send me the links
Yeah.
to your music so I can check it out, and maybe I can put it in the description of the episode so
Okay.
anyone else that's watching can check it out.
Awesome.
Is it Sarah?
Sarah.power.
Sarah.power.
Or
Sarah.power.
dash. Sarah.
Like a hyphen, right?
.com. Yeah.
So it's a hyphen or like underscore?
Sarah-power.com.
Gotcha. You heard it here first, folks. All right, and that is
It's a wrap. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.